Hare Krishna, Happy Janamastami. Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasai Bhutadeshu, Swami Dinamni Namaste Sasati Devi Garbhani Pachayani, Visheshanavani Vasakrishayani. We will read in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a summary study of Srila Vyasadeva Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto. For the pleasure of Sri Sri Kishore Kishori, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Dedication to my father Gaur Mohan Day, 1849 to 1930, a pure devotee of Krishna who raised me as a Krishna conscious child from the beginning of my life. In my boyhood ages, he instructed me how to play the mirdanga. He gave me Radha Krishna Vairaga to worship, and he gave me Jagannath Ratra to duly observe the festival as my childhood play. He was kind to me, and I embedded from him the ideas later on solidified by my spiritual master, the Eternal Father, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. From Apple, everyone is looking for Krishna. Some don't realize that they are, but they are. Krishna is God, the source of all that exists. The cause of all that is, was, or ever will be. As God is unlimited, He has many names. Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Rama, all are Krishna, all are one. God is not abstract. He has both the impersonal and the personal aspects to His personality, which is supreme, eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. As a single drop of water has the same qualities as an ocean of water, so has our consciousness and qualities of God consciousness. But through our dedication and attachment with material energy, that is physical body, sense pleasures, material possession, ego, etc., or through transcendental consciousness, has been polluted, and like a dirty mirror, it is unable to reflect a pure image. With many lives, our association with the temporary has grown. This impermanent body, a bag of bones and flesh, is mistaken for a true self, and we have accepted this temporary condition to be final. Through all ages, great saints have remained as living proof that this non-temporary, permanent state of God consciousness can be relived in all living souls. Each soul is potentially divine. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, quote, steady in the self, being free from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfection stage of happiness in touch with the supreme consciousness. V28. Yoga, a scientific method for God, self-realization, is a process by which we purify our consciousness, stop further pollution, and arrive at the state of perfection, full knowledge, full bliss. If there is a God, I want to see him. It's pointless to believe in something without proof. And Krishna consciousness and meditation are methods where you can actually obtain God perception. You can actually see God and hear him, play with him. It might sound crazy, but he's actually there, actually with you. There are many yogic paths, Raja, Jnana, Hatha, Kriya, Karma, Bhakti, which are all acclaimed by the masters of each method. Swami Bhaktivedanta is, as his title says, a Bhakti yogi following the path of devotion. By serving God through each thought, word, and deed, and by chanting of his holy names, the devotee quickly develops God consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One inevitably arrives at Krishna consciousness. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. I request that you take advantage of this book, Krishna, and enter into its understanding. I also request that you make an appointment to meet your God now through the self-liberating process of yoga union and give peace a chance. George Harrison. Preface. Nirvarta tasir upagi yamad bhava satvak trota manu viramat ka utamasloka guna vadat unma virajita vina pasu gyant. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:1-4. In the Western countries, when someone sees the cover of a book like Krishna, he immediately asks, "Who is Krishna? Who is the girl with Krishna?" etc. The immediate answer is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How is that? Because he conforms in exact detail to the descriptions of the Supreme Being, the Godhead. In other words, Krishna is the Godhead because he's all attractive. Outside the principle of all attraction, there is no meaning of the word Godhead. How is it one can be all attractive? First of all, if one is very wealthy, if he has riches, great riches, he becomes attractive to the people in general. Similarly, if someone is very powerful, he also becomes attractive. And if someone is very famous, he also becomes attractive. And if one is very beautiful or wise or unattached to all kinds of possession, he also becomes attractive. So from practical experience, we can observe that one is attractive due to wealth, power, fame, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation. One who is in possession of all six of these opulences at the same time, who possesses them to an unlimited degree, is understood to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These opulences of the Godhead are delineated by Parasara Muni, the great Vedic authority. We have seen many rich persons, many powerful persons, many famous persons, many beautiful persons, many learned and scholarly persons, and persons in a renounced order of life, unattached to material possessions. But we have never seen any one person who is unlimitedly and simultaneously wealthy, powerful, famous, beautiful, wise, and unattached, like Krishna. In the history of humanity, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a historical person who appeared on this earth 5,000 years ago. He stayed on this earth for 125 years and played exactly like a human being, but his activities were unparalleled. From the very moment of his appearance to the moment of his disappearance, every one of his activities is unparalleled in the history of the world. And therefore, anyone who knows what we mean by Godhead will accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to the Godhead, and no one is greater than him. That is import of the familiar saying, God is great. There are various classes of men in the world who speak of God in different ways. But according to the Vedic literatures and according to the great acharyas, the authorized persons versed in the knowledge of God in all ages, like Acharyas Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, Lord Chaitanya, and all their followers by disciplinic succession, all unanimously agree that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as we know, the followers of Vedic civilization are concerned, we accept the Vedic history of the whole universe, which consists of different planetary systems called Sarvaloka, or the higher planetary system, Martyaloka, or the intermediary planetary system, and Patalaloka, or the lower planetary systems. The modern historians of the earth cannot supply historical evidence of events that occurred before 5,000 years ago. And anthropologists say that 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had not appeared on this planet because evolution had not reached that point. But the Vedic histories, such as the Puranas and Mahabharata, relate human histories which extend millions and billions of years into the past. For example, from these literatures, we are given the histories of Krishna's appearances and disappearances millions and billions of years ago. In the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that both he and Arjuna had many births before that, and he, Krishna, could remember all of them, but Arjuna could not. This illustrates the difference between the knowledge of Krishna and that of Arjuna. Arjuna might have been a very great warrior, a well-cultured member of the Kuru dynasty, but after all, he was an ordinary human being, whereas Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the possessor of unlimited knowledge. Because he possesses unlimited knowledge, Krishna has a memory that is boundless. Krishna's knowledge is so perfect that he remembers all the incidents of his appearance some millions and billions of years in the past. But Arjuna's memory and knowledge are limited by time and space, for he is an ordinary human being. In the fourth chapter, Krishna states that he can remember instructing the lessons of the Bhagavad Gita some millions of years ago to the sun god Vibhisana. Nowadays, it is a fashion of the atheistic class of men to try to become God by following some mystic process. Generally, the atheists Krishna is not that kind of God. He does not become God by manufacturing some mystic process of meditation, nor does he become God by undergoing the severe austerities of the mystic yogic exercises. Properly speaking, he never becomes God because he is the Godhead in all circumstances. Within the prison of his maternal uncle Kamsa, where his father and mother were confined, Krishna appeared outside his mother's body as a four-handed Vishnu Narayana. Then he turned himself into a baby and told his father to carry him to the house of Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda. When Krishna was just a small baby, the gigantic demoness Putana attempted to kill him, but he sucked her breasts, he pulled out her life. That is the difference between the real Godhead and a God manufactured in a mystic factory. Krishna had no chance to practice the mystic yoga process, yet he manifested himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead at every step, from infancy to childhood, from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to young manhood. In this book, Krishna, all of his activities as a human being are described. Although Krishna plays like a human being, he always maintains his identity as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Krishna is all attractive, one should know that all his desires should be focused on Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the individual person is the proprietor or master of his own body, but that Krishna, who is a super soul present in everyone's heart, is a supreme proprietor and supreme master of each and every individual body. As such, if we concentrate our love and propensities upon Krishna only, then immediately universal love, unity, and tranquility will be automatically realized. When one waters the root of a tree, he automatically waters the branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers. When one supplies food to the stomach through the mouth, he satisfies all various parts of the body. The art of focusing one's attention on the Supreme and giving one's love to Him is called Krishna consciousness. We have inaugurated the Krishna conscious movement so that everyone can satisfy his propensity for love in others simply by directing his love towards Krishna. The whole world is very eager to satisfy the dormant propensity of love for others, but the various invented methods like socialism, communism, altruism, humanitarianism, and nationalism, along with whatever else may be manufactured for the peace and prosperity of the world, are all useless and frustrating because of our gross ignorance of the art of loving Krishna. Generally, people think that by advancing the cause of moral principles and religious rights, they will be happy. Others may think that happiness can be achieved by economic development, and yet others think that simply by sense gratification they will be happy. But the real fact is that people can be happy only by loving Krishna. Krishna can perfectly reciprocate one's love and propensities in different relationships called mellows or rasas. Basically, there are 12 love and relationships. One can love Krishna as a supreme unknown, as a supreme master, the supreme friend, the supreme child, the supreme lover. These are the 5 basic love rasas. One can also love Krishna indirectly in 7 different relationships, which are apparently different from the 5 primary relationships. All in all, however, if one simply reposes his dormant love and propensity in Krishna, then his life becomes successful. It is not a fiction, but it's a fact that can be realized by practical application. One can directly perceive the effects that love for Krishna has on his life. In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this science of Krishna consciousness is called the king of all knowledge, the king of all confidential things, and the supreme science of transcendental realization. Yet we can directly experience the result of this science of Krishna consciousness because it is very easy to practice and it is very pleasurable. Whatever parentage of Krishna consciousness we perform will become an eternal asset to our life, for it is imperishable in all circumstances. It now has been actually proved that today's confused and frustrated younger generation in the Western countries can directly perceive the results of channeling the love and propensity towards Krishna alone. It is said that although one executes severe austerities, penances, and sacrifices in this life, if he fails to awaken his dormant love for Krishna, then all his penances are to be considered useless. On the other hand, if one has awakened his dormant love for Krishna, then what is the use in executing austerities and penances unnecessarily? The Krishna consciousness movement is a unique gift of Lord Chaitanya to the fallen souls of this age. It is a very simple method which has actually been carried out during the last 4 years in the Western countries. And there is no doubt that this movement can satisfy the dormant love and propensities of humanity. This book, Krishna, is another presentation to help the Krishna conscious movement in the Western world. This transcendental literature is published with profuse illustrations. People love to read various kinds of fiction to spend their time and energy. Now this tendency can be directed to Krishna. The result will be imperishable satisfaction of the soul, both individually and collectively. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that even a little effort extended on the path of Krishna consciousness can save one from the greatest danger. Hundreds of thousands of examples can be cited of people who have escaped the greatest dangers of life due to a slight advancement in Krishna consciousness. We therefore request everyone to take advantage of this great transcendental literature. One will find that by reading one page after another, an immense treasure of knowledge in art, science, literature, philosophy, and religion will be revealed. And ultimately, by reading this one book, Krishna, the love of Godhead, will fructify. My great acknowledgement is due to Sriman George Harrison, now chanting Hare Krishna, for his liberal contribution of $19,000 to meet the entire cost of printing this volume. May Krishna bestow upon this nice boy, further advancement in Krishna consciousness. And my last ever willing blessings are bestowed upon Sriman Shyamasundar Dasa, Adhikari, Sriman Brahmananda Dasa, Brahmachari, Sriman Hayagriva Dasa, Adhikari, Sriman Swatarupa Dasa, Adhikari, Srimati Devahuti Devi Dasi, Srimati Jadurani Devi Dasi, Sriman Muralidhara Dasa Brahmachari, Sriman Bharava Dasa Adhikari, and Sriman Pradyumna Dasa Adhikari, etc., for their hard work in different ways to make this publication a great success. Hare Krishna. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Advent of Srila Bhaktivedanta Source, February 26, 1970. ISKCON headquarters, 3764 Watesa Avenue, Los Angeles, California. Introduction. Hare Krishna. No. Introduction. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Raskamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Chaitanya Charnamrit, Madhya 7.96. While attempting to write this book, Krishna, let me first offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Om Vishnupada 108 Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada. Then let me offer my respectful obeisances to the ocean of mercy, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna himself appearing in the role of a devotee, just to distribute the highest principles of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya began his preaching from the country known as Godesha, West Bengal. And as I belong to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, I must therefore offer my respectful obeisances to the displaced succession of that name. This Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is also known as the Brahma Sampradaya because the displaced succession originally began from Brahma. Brahma instructed the sage Narada. Narada instructed Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva instructed Madhva Muni or Madhvacharya. Sri Madhva Vindrapuri, the originator of the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, was a sannyasi, renunciant, who belonged to Madhvacharya displaced succession. He had many renowned disciples such as Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and Ishvara Puri. Ishvara Puri happened to be the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let us offer respectful obeisances to Ishvara Puri, Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, Sri Vasa Pandita, and Sri Gadadhar Pandita. Next, let us offer respectful obeisances to Swarup Damodar, who acted as a private secretary to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And let us offer respectful obeisances to Sri Vasudeva Datta and the constant attendant of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Govinda and the constant friend of Lord Chaitanya, Mukunda, and also to Murari Gupta. Let us offer respectful obeisances to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Dasa Goswami. Krishna himself has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that wherever there are discrepancies in the regulative principles of man's religious life and a prominence of religious activities, he appears on this earthly planet. In other words, when Lord Krishna appeared, there was a necessity of minimizing the load of sinful activities accumulated on this planet or in this universe. For affairs of the material creation, Lord Mahavishnu, the plenary portion of Krishna, is in charge. Thus, when the Lord ascends, the incarnation emanates from Vishnu. Mahavishnu is the original cause of the material creation, and from him, Garbhodakshai Sai Vishnu expands, and then Tirshadaksha Sai Vishnu. Generally, all the incarnations appearing within this material universe are plenary expansion for Shirodaksha Sai Vishnu. Therefore, the business of minimizing the overload of sinful activities on this or does not belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. But when Krishna appears, all the Vishnu expansions join with him. Krishna's different expansions, namely Narayana, the quadruple expansion of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, as well as partial plenary expansion like Matsya, the incarnation of a fish, and the Yoga avatars, the incarnations for the millennium, and the Manvantara avatars, incarnations associated with the reigns of the Manus, all combine together and appear within the body of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is a complete whole, and thus all plenary expansion and incarnations always live with him. Therefore, when Krishna appeared, Lord Vishnu was with him. Krishna actually appears in order to demonstrate his Vrindavan pastime, and in this way attract the fortunate conditioned souls and invite them back home, back to Godhead. The killing of the demons in Vrindavan was carried out only by the Vishnu portion of Krishna. The Lord's abode is described in the Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter 20th verse, where it is stated that there is another eternal nature, the spiritual sky, which is transcendental to this manifested and non-manifested matter. The manifested world can be seen in the form of many stars and planetary system, such as the sun and moon. But beyond this, there is a non-manifested portion which is not approachable by anyone in this body. And beyond that non-manifested portion, manifested matter is a spiritual kingdom. That kingdom is described in the Bhagavad Gita as supreme and eternal, never to be alienated. This material nature is subject to be repeated creation and alienation, but that part, the spiritual nature, remains as it is eternally. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead Krishna is also described in the Brahma Samhita as the abode of Chintamani. That abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of touchstone. There the trees are called desire trees, and the cows are called Sarabi. The Lord is served there by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. His name is Govinda, the primeval Lord, and he is the cause of all causes. Therefore, the Lord plays his flute. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like that of a beautiful cloud. On his head is a peacock feather. He is so attractive that he excels thousands of cupids. Lord Krishna gives only a little hint in the Gita of his personal abode, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna actually appears with all his paraphernalia and demonstrates his activities in Vrindavan, then at Mathura, and then at Dwarka. The subject matter of this book will gradually reveal all these activities. The family in which Krishna appeared is called the Yadu dynasty. This Yadu dynasty belongs to the family descended from Soma, the god in the moon planet. There are two different Kshatriya families of the royal order, one descended from the moon planet and the other descended from the king of the sun planet. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he generally appears in Kshatriya family because he has to establish religious principles or the life of righteousness. The Kshatriya family is the protector of the human race. According to the Vedic system, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he appeared in a family descended from the sun god, known as the Raghu Vamsa. And when he appeared as Lord Krishna, he did so in a family known as the Yadu Vamsa. There is a long list of the kings of the Yadu Vamsa in the 9th canto, 24th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. All of them were great, powerful kings. Krishna's father's name was Vasudeva, son of Surasena, descended from the Yadu dynasty. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not belong to any dynasty of this material world, but the family in which the Supreme Personality of God appears becomes famous by his grace. For example, sandalwood is produced in the states of Malaya. Sandalwood has its own qualifications apart from Malaya. But because accidentally this wood is mainly produced in the states of Malaya, it is known as Malayan sandalwood. Similarly, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, it belongs to everyone. But just as the sun rises from the east, although there are other directions from which it could rise, so by his own choice, the Lord appears in a particular family, and that family becomes famous. As explained above, when Krishna appears, all his plenary expansion appear with him. Krishna appears along with Balarama, Baladev, who is known as his elder brother. Balarama is the original Sankarshan of the quadruple expansion. Balarama is also plenary expansion of Krishna. In this book, the attempt will be made to show how Krishna appeared in the family of the Yadu dynasty and how he displays his transcendental characteristics. This is very vividly described in Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the 10th canto, and thus the basis of this book will be the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The pastimes of the Lord are generally heard and relished by liberated souls. Those who are conditioned souls are interested in reading stories of the material activities of some common man. Although similar narration describing the transcendental activities of the Lord are found in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas, the conditioned souls still prefer to study ordinary narrations. They are not so interested in studying the narrations of the pastimes of the Lord Krishna. And yet the descriptions of the pastime of Lord Krishna are so attractive that they are relishable for all classes of men. There are three classes of men in this world. One class consists of liberated soul, another consists of those who are trying to be liberated, and the third consists of materialistic men. Whether one is liberated or is trying to be liberated, or even grossly materialistic, the pastimes of Lord Krishna are worth studying. Liberated souls have no interest in materialistic activities. The impersonalist theory that after liberation one becomes inactive and need not hear anything does not prove that a liberated person is actually inactive. A living soul cannot be inactive. He is active either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state. A living soul cannot be inactive. He is active. A diseased person, for example, is also active, but his activities are all painful. The same person, when freed from the disease condition, is still active, but in the healthy condition, the activities are full of pleasure. Similarly, the impersonalists only seek to get freed from the diseased condition activities, but they have no information of activities in the healthy condition. Those who are actually liberated and in full knowledge take to hearing the activities of Krishna. Such engagement is pure spiritual activity. It is essential for persons who are actually liberated to hear about the pastimes of Krishna. That is the supreme relishable subject matter for one in a liberated state. Also, if persons who are trying to be liberated hear such narrations as the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then their path of liberation becomes very clear. The Bhagavad Gita is preliminary study of Srimad Bhagavatam. By studying the Gita, one becomes fully conscious of the position of Lord Krishna. And when he is situated at the lotus feet of Krishna, he understands the narrations of Krishna as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya has therefore advised his followers that their business is to propagate Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha means narrations about Krishna. There are two Krishna Kathas, narrations spoken by Krishna and narrations spoken about Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita is a narration or a philosophy on the science of God spoken by Krishna himself. Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration about the activities and transcendental pastimes of Krishna. Both are Krishna Katha. It is the order of Lord Chaitanya that Krishna Katha be spread all over the world, because if the conditioned souls suffering under the pangs of material existence take to Krishna Katha, then their path of liberation will be open and clear. The purpose of presenting this book is primarily to induce people to understand Krishna or Krishna Katha, because thereby they can become freed from material bondage. This Krishna Katha will also be very much appealing to the most materialistic persons, because Krishna pastimes with the gopis, cowherd girls, are exactly like the love and affairs between young girls and boys within this material world. Actually, the sex feeling found in human society is not unnatural, because the same-sex feeling is there in original personality of Godhead. The pleasure potency is called Srimati Radharani. The attraction of love and affairs on the basis of sex feeling is the original feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we, the conditioned souls, being part and parcel of the Supreme, have such feelings also, but they are experienced within a perverted, minute condition. Therefore, those who are after sex life in the material world hear about Krishna pastimes with the gopis. They will relish transcendental pleasure, although it appears to be materialistic. The advantage would be that they will gradually be elevated to the spiritual kingdom. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that if one hears the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis from authorities with submission, then he'll be promoted to a platform of transcendental love of service to the Lord, and the material disease of lust within his heart will be completely vanquished. In other words, such hearing will counteract material sex life. This book, Krishna, which is filled with Krishna Katha, will thus appeal equally to the liberated souls and to persons who are trying to be liberated, as well as to the gross conditioned materialists. According to the statement of Maharaja Pariksit, who heard about Krishna from Sukadeva Goswami, Krishna Katha is equally applicable to every human being, whatever condition of life he is in. Surely everyone will appreciate it to the highest magnitude. But Maharaja Pariksit also warned that persons who are simply engaged in killing animals and in killing themselves may not be very much attracted to Krishna Katha. In other words, ordinary persons who are following the regulative moral principles of scriptures, no matter what condition they are found, would certainly be attracted, but not persons who are killing themselves. The exact word used in Srimad Bhagavatam is pasugyan, which means one who is killing animals or killing himself. Persons who are not self-realized and who are not interested in spiritual realization are killing themselves. They are committing suicide. Because this human form of life is especially meant for self-realization, by neglecting this important part of his activities, one simply wastes his time like the animals. So he is a Pashugan. The other meaning of the word refers to those who are actually killing animals. This means persons who are animal eaters, even dog eaters, for they are all engaged in killing animals in so many ways, such as hunting and opening slaughterhouses. Such persons cannot be interested in Krishna Katha. King Pariksit was especially interested in hearing Krishna Katha because he knew that his forefathers, particularly his grandfather Arjuna, were victorious in the great battle of Kurukshetra only because of Krishna. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence on this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. According to Maharaja Pariksit, the battlefield of Kurukshetra was just like a vast ocean full of dangerous animals. His grandfather Arjuna had to fight with such great heroes as Bhima, Drona, Karna, and many others who were not ordinary fighters. Such warriors have been compared to Timingala fish in the ocean. The Timingala fish can very easily swallow up big whales. The great fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra could swallow many Arjunas very easily. But simply due to Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to kill all of them. Just as one can cross with no exertion over the little bit of water contained in the hoof print of a calf, so Arjuna, by the grace of Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battle of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Pariksit very much appreciated Krishna activities for many other reasons. Not only was his grandfather saved by Krishna, but he himself was saved by Krishna. By the end of the Battle of Kurukshetra, all the members of the Kuru dynasty, both the sons and grandsons on the side of Dhritarashtra and those on the side of the Pandavas, had died in fighting. Except the five Pandavas' brothers, everyone died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Pariksit was at that time within the womb of his mother. His father Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, also died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and so Maharaj Pariksit was a posthumous child. When he was in the womb of his mother, a Brahmastra weapon was released by Aswatthama to kill the child. When Pariksit Maharaj's mother, Uttara, approached Krishna, Krishna, seeing the danger of coercion, entered her womb as a super soul and saved Maharaj Pariksit. Maharaj Pariksit other name is Vishnuratha because he was saved by Lord Vishnu himself while he was still within the womb. Thus, everyone in any condition of life should be interested in hearing about Krishna and his activities because he's the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. He is all pervading. Inside, he is living within everyone's heart, and outside, he's living as his universal form. And yet, as described in Bhagavad Gita, he appears as he is in the human society just to invite everyone to his transcendental abode back home, back to Godhead. Everyone should be interested in knowing about Krishna, and this book is presented with this purpose that people may know about Krishna and be perfectly benefited in this human form of life. In the ninth canto Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Baladeva is described as the son of Rohini, the wife of Vasudeva. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, had 16 wives, and one of them was Rohini, the mother of Baladeva. But the Baladeva is also described as the son of Devaki, so how could he be the son of both Devaki and Rohini? This was one of the questions put by Maharaj Pariksit to Sukadeva Goswami, and it will be answered in due course. Maharaj Pariksit also asked Sukadeva Goswami why Shri Krishna, just after his appearance as the son of Vasudeva, was immediately carried to the house of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, Goloka. He also wanted to know what the activities of Lord Krishna were while he was in Vrindavan and while he was in Mathura. Besides that, he was especially inquisitive to know why Krishna killed his maternal uncle Kamsa. Kamsa, being the brother of his mother, was a very intimate superior to Krishna. So how was it that he killed Kamsa? Also, Maharaj Pariksit asked how many years Lord Krishna remained in human society, how many years he reigned over the kingdom of Dwarka, and how many wives he accepted there. A Kshatriya king is generally accustomed to accept more than one wife. Therefore, Maharaj Pariksit also inquired about his number of wives. The subject matter of this book is Sukadeva Goswami's answering of these and other questions asked by Maharaj Pariksit. The position of Maharaj Pariksit and Sukadeva Goswami is unique. Maharaj Pariksit is the right person to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and Sukadeva Goswami is the right person to describe them. If such a fortunate combination is made possible, then Krishna Katha immediately becomes revealed, and people may benefit to the highest possible degree from such a conversation. This narration was presented by Sukadeva Goswami when Maharaj Pariksit was prepared to give up his body, fasting on the bank of the Ganges. In order to assure Sukadeva Goswami that by hearing Krishna Katha he would not feel tired, Maharaj Pariksit expressed himself very frankly. Quote, hunger and thirst may give trouble to ordinary persons or to me, but the topics of Krishna are so nice that one can continue to hear them without feeling tired, because such hearing situates one in a transcendental position. End of quote. It is understood that one must be very fortunate to hear Krishna Katha as seriously as Maharaj Pariksit did. He was especially intent on the subject matter because he was expecting death at any moment. Every one of us should be conscious of death at every moment. This life is not at all assured. At any time, one can die. It does not matter whether one is a young man or an old man. So, before death takes place, we must be fully Krishna conscious. At the point of his death, King Pariksit was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. When King Pariksit expressed his untiring desire to hear about Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami was very much pleased. Sukadeva was the greatest of all Bhagavata reciters, and thus he began to speak about Krishna's pastime, which destroy all inauspiciousness in this age of Kali. Sukadeva Goswami thanked the king for his eagerness to hear about Krishna, and he encouraged him by saying, my dear king, your intelligence is very keen because you are so eager to hear about the pastimes of Krishna. He informed Maharaj Pariksit that hearing and chanting pastimes of Krishna are so auspicious that the processes purify the three varieties of men involved. He who recites the transcendental topics of Krishna, he who hears such topics, and he who inquires about him. These pastimes are just like the Ganges water, which flows from the toe of Lord Vishnu. They purify the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Chapter 1: The Advent of Lord Krishna. Once, the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings who were actually demons, but they were posing themselves as a royal order. At that time, the world became perturbed, and the predominant deity of this earth, known as Bhumi, went to see Lord Brahma to tell of her calamities due to the demonic kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved. He at once started for the ocean of milk, where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the demigods, headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the milk ocean, Lord Brahma began to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar. In the Vedic mantra, there is a particular type of prayer called Purusha Sukta. Generally, the demigods offer their obeisances unto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting the Purusha Sukta. It is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Supreme Lord of this universe, Brahma, whenever there is some disturbance on his planet. And Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu not by seeing him directly, but by standing on the shore of the ocean of milk. There is a planet within this universe called Swetadeepa, and on that planet there is an ocean of milk. It is understood from various Vedic literature that just as there is the ocean of salt water on this planet, there are various kinds of oceans on other planets. Somewhere there's an ocean of milk, somewhere there's an ocean of oil, somewhere there are oceans of liquor, and so many other types of liquids. The Purusha Sukta is a standard prayer which a demigod recites to appease the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shirodaksha Sai Vishnu. Because he is lying on the ocean of milk, he is called Shirodaka Sai Vishnu. He is a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom all the incarnation within this universe appear. After all the demigods offered the Purusha Sukta prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they apparently heard no response. Then Lord Brahma personally sat in meditation, and there was a message transmission from Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Brahma then broadcast a message to the demigods. This is a system of receiving Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is received first by Brahma from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of the heart. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hirde Adi Kave. The transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was transmitted to Lord Brahma through the heart. Here also, in the same way, Lord Brahma could understand the message transmitted by Lord Vishnu, and he broadcasted to the demigods for their immediate action. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon, along with his supreme powerful potencies. And as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his mission of alienating the demons and establishing the devotees, the demigods should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of the Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, would personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different pious families in the world, just to assist the Lord in executing his mission. The exact word used here is tat priyatam, which means the demigods should appear on the earth in order to please the Lord. In other words, any living entity who lives only to satisfy the Lord is a demigod. The demigods were further informed that Ananta, the plenary portion of Lord Krishna, who is maintaining the universal planets by extending his millions of hoods, would also appear on earth just before Lord Krishna's appearance. They were also informed that the external potency of Vishnu, Maya, with whom all the conditioned souls are enamored, would also appear by the order of the Supreme Lord just to execute his purpose. After instructing and pacifying all the demigods, as well as Bhumi, with sweet words, Lord Brahma, the father of all the Prajapatis or progenitors of the universal population, departed for his own abode, the highest material planet called Brahmaloka. The leader of the Yadu dynasty, King Surasena, was ruling over the country known as Mathura, wherein lies the city of Mathura, as well as the district known as Surasena, which was named after him. On account of the rule of King Surasena, Mathura became the capital of all the kings of the Yadus. Mathura was also made the capital of the kings of the Yadu dynasty, because the Yadus were a very pious family and knew that Mathura is a place where Lord Krishna lives eternally, just as he also lives in Dwarka. Once upon a time, Vasudeva, the son of Surasena, just after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, known as Devaka, had contributed a sufficient dowry because he was very affectionate towards his daughter. He had contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipment. At that time, Kamsa, the son of Yogursena, in order to please his sister, Devaki had voluntarily taken the reins of the horses of Vasudeva's chariot and was driving. According to the custom of the Vedic civilization, when a girl is married, the brother takes the sister and the brother-in-law to their home. Because a newly married girl may feel too much separation from her father's family, the brother goes with her until she reaches her father-in-law's house. The full dowry contributed by Devika was as follows: 400 elephants fully decorated with golden garlands, 15,000 decorated horses, and 1,800 chariots. He also arranges for 200 beautiful girls to follow his daughter. The Kshatriya system of marriage, still current in India, dictates that when a Kshatriya is married, a few dozen of the bride's young girlfriends, in addition to the bride, go to the house of the king. The followers of the queen are called maid servants, but actually they act as friends of the queen. This practice is prevalent from time immemorial, traceable at least to the time before the advent of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. So Vasudeva brought home another 200 beautiful girls along with his wife Devaki. While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious moment. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums. Combined together, they were vibrating a nice concert. The procession was passing very pleasantly, and Kamsa was driving the chariot, when suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrated from the sky, which especially announced to Kamsa, Kamsa, you are a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law. You do not know that the eighth child of this sister will kill you. Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena of the Bhoja dynasty. It is said that Kamsa was the most demonic of all the Bhoja dynasty kings. Immediately after hearing the prophecy from the sky, he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was just about to kill her with his sword. Vasudeva was astonished at Kamsa's behavior, and in order to pacify the cruel, shameless brother-in-law, he began to speak as follows with great reason and evidence. He said, my dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the most famous king of the Bhoja dynasty, and people know that you are the greatest warrior and a valiant king. How is it that you are so infuriated that you are prepared to kill a woman who is your sister at this auspicious time of her marriage? Why should you be so much afraid of death? Death is already born along with your birth. From the very day you took your birth, you began to die. Suppose you're 25 years old. That means you've already died 25 years. Every moment, every second, you are dying. Then, why then should you be so afraid of death? Final death is inevitable. You may die either today or in 100 years. You cannot avoid death. Why should you be so much afraid? Actually, death means alienation of the present body. As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the five elements of material nature, The living entity within the body accepts another body according to his present actions and reactions. It is just like when a man walks in the street, he puts forward his foot, and when he's confident that his foot is situated on the ground, sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and the soul transmigrates. See how the plant worms change from one twig to another so carefully? Similarly, the living entity changes body as soon as the higher authorities decide on his next body. As long as the living entity is conditioned within a material world, he must take material bodies one after another. This next particular body is offered by the laws of nature according to the actions and reactions of this life. This body is exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dream of sleep, we create so many bodies according to mental creation. We have seen gold, we have seen a mountain. So in a dream, we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dream, we see that we have a body which is flying in the skies, and at that time, we completely forget our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of bodies. But when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creations of our mental activities. But at the present moment, we do not recollect our past bodies. The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something and sometimes it rejects the same thing. Accepting or rejecting is a process of the mind in contact with the five objects of sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In this speculative way, the mind comes in touch with objects of sense gratification, and when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts the body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental proclivities inherited from the previous life. This particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death. The luminous planets like the sun, moon, or stars reflect themselves in different types of reservoirs, like water, oil, or ghee. The reflection moves according to the movement of the reservoir, and the reflection of the moon is on the water, and the moving water makes the moon also appear to be moving. But actually, the moon is not moving. Similarly, the mental concoction, the living entity attains different kinds of body, although actually has no connection with such bodies. But on account of illusion, being enchanted by the influence of Maya, the living entity thinks he belongs to a particular type of body. That is the way of conditioned life. Suppose a living entity is now in a human form of body. He thinks that he belongs to the human community, or a particular country or particular place. He identifies himself in that way and unnecessarily prepares for another body, which is not required by him. Such desires and mental concoction are the cause of different types of bodies. The covering influence of material nature is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in whatever body he gets, and he identifies with that body with great pleasure. Therefore, I beg to request you not to be overwhelmed by the dictation of your mind and body. Vasudeva thus requested Kamsa not to be envious of his newly married sister. One should not be envious of anyone because envy is a cause of fear both in this world and in the next. And when one is before Yamraj, the Lord of punishment after death, Vasudeva appealed to Kamsa on behalf of Devaki, stating that she was his younger sister. He also appealed that at an auspicious moment at the time of marriage, a younger sister or brother is supposed to be protected as one's child. The position is overall so delicate, Vasudeva reasoned, that if you kill her, it will go against your high reputation. In this way, Vasudeva tried to pacify Kamsa by good instruction as well as by philosophical discrimination. But Kamsa was not to be pacified because his association was demonic. Because of his demonic association, he was a demon. Although born in a very high royal family, a demon never cares for any good instruction. He is just like a determined thief. One can give him moral instruction, but it will not be effective. Similarly, those who are demonic or atheistic by nature can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. That is the difference between demigods and demons. Those who can accept good instruction and try to live their lives in that way are called demigods, and those who are unable to take such good instructions are called demons. Failing in his attempt to pacify Kamsa, Vasudeva wondered how he would protect his wife Devaki. When there is an imminent danger, an intelligent person should try to avoid the dangerous position as far as possible. But if, in spite of endeavoring by all intelligent, one fails to avoid the dangerous position, there is no fault on his part. One should try his best to execute his duties, but if the attempt fails, he is not at fault. Vasudeva thought of his wife as follows. For the present, let me save the life of Devaki, then later on, if there are children, I shall see how to save them. He further thought, if in the future I get a child who can kill Kamsa, just as Kamsa is thinking, then both Devaki and the child will be saved, because the law of providence is inconceivable. But now, some way or the other, let me save the life of Devaki. There is no certainty how a living entity contacts a certain type of body. But just as there is no certainty how a blazing fire comes in contact with a certain type of wood in the forest, when there is a forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. Similarly, a living entity may be very careful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he is going to get in the next life. Maharaja Bharata was very faithfully executing the duties of self-realization, but by chance he developed temporary affection for a deer, and in his next life he had to accept the body of a deer. Vasudeva, after deliberating on how to save his wife, began to speak to Kamsa with great respect. Although Kamsa was a most sinful man, sometimes it happens that a most virtuous person like Vasudeva has to flatter a person like Kamsa, a most victorious person. That is the way of all diplomatic transactions. Although Vasudeva was deeply aggrieved, he smiled outwardly. He addressed a shameless Kamsa in that way because he was so atrocious. Vasudeva said to Kamsa, my dear brother-in-law, please consider that you have no danger from your sister. You're awaiting some danger because you have heard a prophetic voice in the sky. But the danger is to come from the sons of your sister who are not present now. And who knows, they may or may not be sons in the future. Considering all this, you are safe for the present. Nor is there cause of fear from your sister. If there are any sons born of her, I promise I shall present all of them to you for necessary action. Kamsa knew the value of Vasudeva's word of honor, and he was convinced by his argument. For the time being, he desisted from the heinous killing of his sister. Thus Vasudeva was pleased and praised the decision of Kamsa. In this way, he returned to his home. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki gave birth to a child. Thus she gave birth to 8 male children, as well as 1 daughter. When the first son was born, Vasudeva kept his word of honor and immediately brought the child before Kamsa. It is said that Vasudeva was very much elevated and famous for his word of honor, and he wanted to maintain this fame. Although it was very painful for Vasudeva to hand over the newly born child, Kamsa was very glad to receive him. When he became a little compassionate with the behavior of Vasudeva, but he became a little compassionate with the behavior of Vasudeva. This event is very exemplary. For a great soul like Vasudeva, there is nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vasudeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, a demon like Kamsa never hesitates in committing any abominable action. It is said, therefore, that a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kamsa can act in any sinful way, and a devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kamsa became satisfied by the action of Vasudeva. He was surprised to see Vasudeva keeping his promise, and being compassionate upon him and pleased, he began to speak as follows. My dear Vasudeva, you need not present this child to me. I'm not in danger from this child. I've heard a child born of you and Devaki will kill me. Why should I accept this child unnecessary? You can take him back. When Vasudeva would return home with his firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kamsa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kamsa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in his word of honor. One who cannot control his senses cannot be steady in his determination. The great politician Chanaka Pandita said, never put your trust in a diplomat or a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith. At that time, the great sage Narada came to Kamsa. He was informed of Kamsa's becoming compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child. Narada was very eager to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that in Vrindavan, personalities like Nanda Maharaj and all other cowherd men and their wives, and on the other side, Vasudeva, his father Sugrasena, and all his relatives, born in the family of Vishnu of the Radu dynasty, along with their friends and well-wishers, were actually demigods. Narada warned Kamsa to be very careful of them since Kamsa and his friends and advisor were all demons. Demons are always afraid of demigods. After being thus informed by Narada about the appearance of the demigods in different families, Kamsa at once became very much alarmed. He understood that since the demigods had already appeared, Lord Vishnu must be coming soon. He at once arrested both his brother-in-law Vasudeva and Devaki and put them behind prison bars. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year. And Kamsa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them one after another. He was particularly afraid of the eighth child, but after the visit of Narada, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. This action of Kamsa is not very difficult to understand. In the history of the world, there are many instances in the history of the world of persons in the royal order who have killed their father, brother, and whole family and friends for the satisfaction of their ambitions. There is nothing astonishing about this, for members of the demonic, greedy royal order can kill anyone for their nefarious ambitions. Kamsa was made aware of his previous birth by the grace of Narada. He learned that in his previous birth he had been a demon of the name Kalanemi and that he had been killed by Vishnu. Having now taken his birth in the Bhoja family, he decided to become the deadly enemy of the Yadu dynasty. Krishna was going to take birth in that family, and Kamsa was very much afraid that he would be killed by Krishna, just as he had been killed in his last birth.
He first of all imprisoned his father Ugrasena because he was the chief king of the Yadu, Bodha and Andhaka dynasties, and he also occupied the kingdom of Surasena, Vasudeva's father. He declared himself the king of all such places. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first chapter of Krishna, the adventure of Lord Krishna. Chapter 2 Prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the Old. King Kamsa not only occupied the kingdoms of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasties and the kingdom of Surasena, but he also made alliances with all the other Genoid kings as follows: the demon Pralamba, demon Bhaka, demon Changura, demon Trinavrata, demon Agasura, demon Mustika, demon Arista, demon Vivida, demon Putana, demon Kesi, and demon Deluka. At that time, Jarasandha was the king of Magadha province, known at present as Bihar state. Thus, by his diplomatic policy, Kamsa consolidated the most powerful kingdom of his time under the protection of Jarasandha. He made further alliances with such kings as Banasura and Baumasura until he was the strongest. Then he began to behave most inimically toward the Edu dynasty, into which Krishna was to take his birth. Being harassed by Kamsa, the kings of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasties took shelter in different states, such as the state of the Kurus, the state of the Panchalas, and the states known as Kekaya, Salva, Vidarbha, Nishada, Videha, and Kosala. Kamsa broke the solidarity of the Yadu kingdom as well as the Bhoja and Andhaka. He made his position the most solid within the vast tract of land known at the time as Bharatavarsha. When Kamsa was killing the six babies of Devaki and Vasudeva one after another, many friends and relatives of Kamsa approached him and requested him to discontinue these heinous activities, but all of them became worshippers of Kamsa. When Devaki became pregnant for the seventh time, a plenary expansion of Krishna known as Ananta appeared within her womb. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her room, but at the same time she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At the time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, being compassionate upon the others who were fearful due to the atrocities committed by Kamsa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his internal potency. Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Edu dynasty. Yogamaya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is stated that the Lord, the supreme personality of Godhead, has multi-potencies. Parasya Sektir Vividaiva Shruyate. All the different potencies are acting externally and internally. And Yogamaya is the chief of all potencies. The Lord ordered the appearance of Yogamaya in the land of Rajabhumi in Vrindavana, which is always decorated and full with beautiful cows. In Vrindavana, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudeva, was residing at the house of King Nanda and Queen Ashoda. Not only Rohini but many others in the Edu dynasty were scattered all over the country due to their fear of the atrocities of Kamsa. Some of them were even living in the caves of the mountains. The Lord thus informed Yogamaya under the imprisonment of Kamsa or Devaki and Vasudeva, and at the present moment, my plenary expansion station is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Sesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. After this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. Then I shall appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, and you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavana. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since we will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations, incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under the different forms of your expansions, which will be named Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumuda, Chandrika, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharada, and Ambika. Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the supreme powerful and the supreme power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power, power is always subordinate to the powerful. Those who are materialistic are worshippers of the power, but those who are transcendentalists are worshippers of the powerful. Krishna is the supreme powerful and Durga is the supreme power within the material world. Actually, people in the Vedic culture worship both the powerful and the power. There are many hundreds and thousands of temples of Vishnu and Devi, and sometimes they are worshipped simultaneously. The worshipper of the power Durga or the external energy of Krishna may achieve all kinds of material success very easily. But anyone who wants to be elevated transcendentally must engage in worshipping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion Anantasesha is within the womb of Devaki. On account of being forcibly attracted to the womb of Rohini, he will be known as Sankarsana and will be the source of all spiritual power or Bala, by which one can attain the highest bliss of life, which is called Ramana. Therefore, the plenary portion Ananta will be known after his appearance either as Sankarsana or as Balarama. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhya. The purport is that one cannot attain a supreme platform of self realization without being sufficiently favored by Balarama. Bala does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balarama or Sankarsana, Ananta or Sesha, is a source of the power which sustains all the planets in their different positions. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is a display of the potency of Sankarsana, Sankarsana. Balarama or Sankarsana is the source of spiritual power or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is also the incarnation of Balarama, is the original spiritual master. When the spiritual master is a representative of Balarama, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who supplies spiritual strength. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Thus, ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya circumambulated the Lord and then appeared within the material world according to his order. And Yogamaya, the supreme power of the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, transferred Lord Sesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Both Devaki and Rohini were under Yogamaya's spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. When this was done, people thought that Devaki's seventh pregnancy had been a miscarriage. Thus, although Balarama appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that Lord Krishna first of all situated himself in the unalloyed heart of the Vasudeva and was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put into the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way by seminal induction within the womb of a woman. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in the pure unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is not different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere and specifically within the heart is called Dhamma. Dhamma refers not only to Krishna's form but also to his name, his qualities, and his paraphernalia. Everything becomes manifest simultaneously. Thus, the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki exactly as the setting sun's rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva without being subject to any of the conditions of an ordinary living entity. Since Krishna was there, it is to be understood that all his plenary expansions, such as Narayana and incarnations like Lord Nrsimha and Varaha, were with him, and they also were not subject to the conditions of material existence. In this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of the Absolute Truth, but because she was confined within the house of Kamsa, she looked just like a suppressed fire or like misused education. When fire is kept in a jar, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, misused knowledge which does not benefit the people in general is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's palace, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kamsa, however, saw the transcendental beauty of his sister Devaki, and he at once concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken shelter in her womb. She had never before looked so wonderfully beautiful. He could distinctly understand that there was something wonderful within the womb of Devaki. In this way, Kamsa became matured because he was sure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would kill him in the future, had now come. Kamsa began to think, what is to be done with Devaki? Surely she has Vishnu or Krishna within her womb. So it is certain that Krishna has come to execute the mission of the demigods. And even if I immediately kill Devaki, his mission cannot be frustrated. Kamsa knew very well that no one can frustrate the purpose of Vishnu. Any intelligent man can understand that the laws of God cannot be violated. His purpose will be served in spite of all impediments offered by the demons. Kamsa thought, if I kill Devaki at the present moment, Vishnu will enforce his supreme will more vehemently. To kill Devaki just now would be a most abominable act. Abominable act. No one desires to kill his reputation, even in an awkward situation. If I kill Devaki now, my reputation will be spoiled. Devaki is a woman and she is under my shelter. She is pregnant, and if I kill her immediately, my reputation, the results of my pious activities, and my duration of life will all be finished. He further deliberated. A person who is too cruel is as good as dead, even in this lifetime. No one likes a cruel person during his lifetime, and after his death, people curse him. On account of his self identification within the body, he must be degraded and pushed into the darkest region of hell. Kamsa thus meditated on all the pros and cons of killing Devaki at that time. Kamsa finally decided not to kill Devaki right away but to wait for the inevitable future. But his mind became absorbed in animosity against the personality of Godhead. He patiently waited for the delivery of the child, expecting to kill him, as he had done previously with the other babies of Devaki. Thus, being matched in the ocean of animosity against the personality of Godhead, he began to think of Krishna or Vishnu while sitting, while sleeping, while walking, while eating, while working, in all the situations of his life. His mind became so much absorbed with the third of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that indirectly he could see only Krishna or Vishnu around him. Unfortunately, although his mind was so absorbed in the thought of Vishnu, he is not recognized as a devotee because he was thinking of Krishna as an enemy. The state of mind of a great devotee is also to be always absorbed in Krishna, but a devotee thinks of him favorably, not unfavorably. To think of Krishna favorably is Krishna consciousness, but to think of Krishna unfavorably is not Krishna consciousness. At this time, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada and followed by many other demigods, invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in select verses which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of their desires. The first words they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true to his vows. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna descends to this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impures. Second, his work. The demigods could understand that the Lord had taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill his vow, and they were very glad that the Lord was appearing in order to fulfill his mission. Then the demigods addressed the Lord as Satyam Param, or the Supreme Absolute Truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is a philosophical way of life. The demigods give information that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna. One who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the Absolute Truth. Krishna is the Absolute Truth because, unlike relative truth, he is truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is being controlled by supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Krishna was existing, and when there is creation, everything is resting in Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Krishna will remain. Therefore, he is the absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world, it emanates from the Supreme Truth, Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Krishna. If there is any reputation within this material world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. If there is any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. If there is any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the source of all relative truths. This material world is composed of five principal elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and all such elements are emanations from Krishna. The material scientists accept these five primary elements as the cause of the material manifestation. But the elements in their gross and subtle states are produced by Krishna. The living entities who are working within this material world are products of his marginal potency. In the seventh chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that the whole manifestation is a combination of two kinds of energies of Krishna, the superior energy and the inferior energy. The living entities are the superior energy, and the dead material elements are his inferior energy. In its dormant stage, everything remains in Krishna. The demigods continue to offer their respectful prayers unto the supreme form of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, by analytical study of the material manifestation. What is this material manifestation? It is just like a tree. A tree stands on the ground. Similarly, the tree of the material manifestation is standing on the ground of material nature. This material manifestation is compared to a tree because a tree is ultimately cut off in due course of time. A tree is called vriksha. Vriksha means that thing which will be ultimately cut off. Therefore, this tree of a material manifestation cannot be accepted as the ultimate truth because it is influenced by time. But Krishna's body is eternal. He existed before the material manifestation. He is existing while the material manifestation is continuing, and when it will be dissolved, he will continue to exist. Therefore, only Krishna can be accepted as absolute truth. The Katha Upanishad also cites this example of the tree of the material manifestation standing on the ground of material nature. This tree has two kinds of fruits, distress and happiness. Those who are living in the tree of the body are just like two birds. One bird is a localized aspect of Krishna known as the Paramatma, and the other bird is a living entity. The living entity is eating the fruits of this material manifestation. Sometimes he eats the fruit of happiness and sometimes he eats the fruit of distress. But the other bird is not interested in eating the fruit of distress or happiness because he is self satisfied. The Katha Upanishad states that one bird on the tree of the body is eating the fruits and the other bird is simply witnessing. The roots of this tree extend in three directions. This means that the root of the tree is the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Just as a tree's root expands so by association of the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, one expands its duration of material existence. The taste of the fruits are of four kinds: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and ultimately liberation. According to the different associations in the three modes of material nature, living entities are tasting different kinds of religiosity, different kinds of economic development, different kinds of sense gratification, and different kinds of liberation. Practically, all material work is performed in ignorance, but because there are three qualities, sometimes the quality of ignorance is covered with goodness or passion. The taste of this material fruit is accepted through five senses. The five sense organs through which knowledge is acquired are subjected to six kinds of griefs: lamentation, illusion, infirmity, death, hunger, and thirst. This material body or the material manifestation is covered by seven layers: skin, muscle, blood, marrow, bone, fat, and semen. The branches of the tree are eight: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. There are nine gates in this body: the two eyes, the two nostrils, two ears, one mouth, one genital, one rectum. And there are 10 kinds of internal air passing within the body: prana, apana, udana, vyana, samana, etc. The two birds seated in this tree, as explained above, are the living entity and the localized supreme personality of Godhead, Brahman. The root cause of the material manifestation described here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself to take charge of the three qualities of the material world. Vishnu takes charge of the mode of goodness, Brahma takes charge of the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva takes charge of the mode of ignorance. Brahma, by the mode of passion, creates this manifestation. Lord Vishnu maintains this manifestation by the mode of goodness, and Lord Shiva annihilates it by the mode of ignorance. The whole creation ultimately rests in the Supreme Lord. He is the cause of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And when the whole manifestation is dissolved in its subtle form as his energy, it rests within his body. At present, the demigods pray the Supreme Lord Krishna is appearing just for the maintenance of this manifestation. Actually, the supreme cause is one, but less intelligent persons being deluded by the three modes of material nature see that the material world is manifestation manifested to different causes. Those who are intelligent can see that the cause is one, Krishna. As it is stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of all causes. Brahma is a deputed agent for creation. Vishnu is the expansion of Krishna for maintenance. And Lord Shiva is the expansion of Krishna for dissolution. Our dear Lord, the demigods prayed. It is very difficult to understand your eternal form or personality. People in general are unable to understand your actual form. Therefore, you are personally descending to exhibit your original eternal form. Somehow, people can understand the different incarnations of your Lordship, but they are puzzled to understand the eternal form of Krishna with two hands. Moving among human beings exactly like one of them, this eternal form of your Lordship gives ever increasing transcendental pleasure to the devotees. But for the non-devotees, this form is very dangerous. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very pleasing to the sadhus, Paritranaya sadhuna. But this form is very dangerous for the demons because Krishna also descends to kill the demons. He is therefore simultaneously pleasing to the devotees and dangerous to the demons. Our dear lotus-eyed Lord, you are the source of pure goodness. There are many great sages who simply by samadhi or transcendentally meditating upon your lotus feet and thus being absorbed in your thought have easily transformed the great ocean of nescience created by the material nature into no more than the water in a calf's hoof print. The purpose of meditation is to focus the mind upon the personality of God. Beginning from his lotus feet, simply By meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages cross over this vast ocean of material existence without difficulty. O self-illuminated one, the great saintly persons who have crossed over the ocean of nescience by the help of the transcendental boat of your lotus feet have not taken away that boat. It is still lying on the side. If one takes a boat to cross over a river, the boat also goes with one to the other side of the river. And so, when one reaches the destination, how can the same boat be available to those who are still on this side? To answer this difficulty, the demigod say in the prayer that the boat of the Lord's lotus feet is not taken away. The devotees still remaining on this side are able to pass over the ocean of the material nature because the pure devotees do not take the boat with them when they cross over. When one simply approaches the boat, the whole ocean of material nescience is reduced to the size of the water in the clouds of wind. Therefore, the devotees do not need to take the boat to the other side. They simply cross the ocean immediately. Because the great saintly persons are compassionate toward all conditioned souls. The boat is still lying on this side. In other words, one can meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord at any time. And by so doing, one can cross over the great ocean of material existence. Meditation means concentration upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Lotus feet indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are impersonalists do not recognize the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore their object of meditation is something impersonal. The demigods express their mature verdict that persons who are interested in meditating on something void or impersonal cannot cross over the ocean of insights. Such persons are simply imagining that they have become liberated. O lotus eyed Lord, their intelligence is contaminated because they fail to meditate upon the lotus feet of your Lordship. As a result of this neglectful activity, the impersonalists fall down again into the material way of conditioned life, although they may temporarily rise to the point of impersonal realization. Impersonalists undergo severe austerities and penances to merge themselves into the Brahman effulgence or impersonal Brahman existence. But their minds are not free from material contamination. They have simply tried to negate the material ways of thinking. That does not mean that they have become liberated, thus they fall down. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the impersonalist has to undergo great tribulation in realizing his ultimate goal. At the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also stated that without devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve liberation from the bondage of divine habits. The statement of Lord Krishna is there in the Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. The statement of the great sage Narada is there, and here also the demigods confirm it. Persons who are not taken into devotional service are understood to have come short of the ultimate purpose of the knowledge and are not favored by your grace. The impersonalists simply think that they are liberated, but actually they have no feeling for the personality of God. They think that when Krishna comes into the material world, he accepts a material body. They therefore overlook the transcendental body of Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti Mamuda, in spite of conquering material lust and rising to the point of liberation, the impersonalists fall down. If they are engaged just in knowing things for the sake of knowledge and do not take to the devotional service of the Lord, they cannot achieve the desired result. Their achievement is a trouble they take, and that is all. It is clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita that to realize Brahman identification is not all. Brahman identification may help one become joyful without material attachment or detachment and to achieve the platform of equanimity, but after this stage, one has to take a devotional service. When one takes to devotional service after being elevated to the platform of Brahman realization, he is then admitted into the spiritual kingdom for permanent residence in association with the Supreme Personality of God. That is the result of devotional service. Those who are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead never fall down like the impersonalists. Even if the devotees fall down, they remain affectionately attached to their Lord. They can meet all kinds of obstacles on the path of devotional service and freely, without any fear, they can surmount such obstacles. Because of their surrender, they are certain that Krishna will always protect them. As it is promised by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, my devotees are never vanquished. Our dear Lord, the demigods continued, you have appeared in your original and royal form, the eternal form of God, goodness, for the welfare of all living entities within this material world. Taking advantage of your appearance, all of them can now very easily understand the nature and form of the Supreme Personality of God. Persons who belong to the four divisions of the social order, the Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis, can all take advantage of your appearance. Dear Lord, husband of the good goddess of fortune, devotees who are domiciled in your service do not fall down from their high position like the impersonalists. Being protected by you, the devotees are able to traverse over the heads of many of Maya's commanders in chief, who can always put stumbling blocks on the path of liberation. Dear Lord, you appear in your eternal transcendental form for the benefit of the living entities, so that they can see you face to face and offer their worshipful sacrifices by ritualistic performance of the Vedas, mystic meditation, and devotional service as recommended in the scriptures. Dear Lord, if you did not appear in your eternal transcendental form full of bliss and knowledge, a form which can eradicate all kinds of speculative ignorance about your position, then all people would simply speculate about you according to their respective modes of material nature. The appearance of Krishna is the answer to all imaginative iconography of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone imagines the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his mode of material nature. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is the oldest person. Therefore, a section of religionists imagine that God must be very old, and therefore they depict a form of the Lord like a very old man. But in the same Brahma Samhita, that is contraindicated. Although he is the oldest of all living entities, he has his eternal form as a fresh shield. The exact words used in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam are Vijnanam, Ajnanam, Vedam, Vedamamarjanam. Vijnana means transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality of God. Vijnanam is also experienced knowledge. Transcendental knowledge has to be accepted by the descending process of disciplic succession, as Brahma presents the knowledge of Krishna in the Brahma Samhita. The Brahma Samhita is Vijnanam as realized by Brahman's transcendental experience, and in that way he presented the form and the pastimes of Krishna in the transcendental abode. This knowledge is Ajnana Veda Pavarshanam, that which can smash all kinds of speculation in ignorance. People are imagining the form of the Lord. Sometimes he has no form and sometimes he has form. According to their different imaginations, but the presentation of Krishna in the Brahma Samhita is Vijnana, scientific experienced knowledge given by Lord Brahma and accepted by Lord Chaitanya. There is no doubt about it. Krishna's form, Krishna's flute, Krishna's color, everything is reality. Here it is said that this Vijnanam is always defeating all kinds of speculative knowledge. Therefore, without your appearing as Krishna, as you are neither Ajnana Veda Pavarchanam, destruction of the nescience of speculative knowledge, nor Vijnanam would be realized. In other words, your appearance will vanquish the ignorance of speculative knowledge and establish the real experience and knowledge of authorities like Lord Brahma. Men influenced by the three modes of material nature imagine their own God according to the modes of material nature. In this way, God is presented in various ways. But your appearance will establish what the real form of God is. The highest blunder committed by the impersonalist is to think that when the incarnation of God comes, he accepts the form of matter in the mode of goodness. Actually, the form of Krishna or Narayana is transcendental to any material idea. Even the greatest impersonalist Sankaracharya has admitted Narayana Parobhyaktat. The material creation is caused by the Abhyakta. impersonal manifestation of matter, or the non-phenomenal total reservoir of matter. But Krishna is transcendental to that material conception. That is expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam Shuddha Sattva or transcendental goodness. He does not belong to the material mode of goodness and he is above the position of material goodness. He belongs to the transcendental eternal status of bliss and knowledge. Dear Lord, when you appear in your different incarnations, you took different names and forms according to different situations. Lord Krishna is your name because you are all attractive. You are called Shyamsundara because of your transcendental beauty. Shama means blackish, as yet it is said that you are more beautiful than thousands of cupids. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya. Although you appear in a color which is compared to the blackish cloud, because you are the transcendental absolute, your beauty is many times more attractive than the delicate body of Cupid. Sometimes you are called Giridhari because you lifted the hill known as Govardhana. You are sometimes called Nandanandana or Vasudeva or Devaki Nandana because you appear as a son of Maharaj Nanda or Vasudeva or Devaki. Impersonalists think that your many names or forms are given according to a particular type of work and quality because they accept you from the position of a material observer. Our dear Lord, the way of understanding is not to study your absolute nature, form, and activities by mental speculation. One must engage himself in devotional service, then one can understand your absolute nature and your transcendental form, name, and qualities. Actually, only a person who has a little taste for the service of your lotus feet can understand your transcendental nature or forms and qualities. Others may go on speculating for millions of years, but it is not possible for them to understand even a single part of your actual position. In other words, Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna cannot be understood by the non-devotees because there is a curtain of Yoga Maya which covers Krishna's actual features. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasa Sarvasya, the Lord says, I am not exposed to anyone and everyone. When Krishna came, he was actually present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and everyone saw him, but not everyone could understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, everyone who died in his presence attained complete liberation from material bondage and was transferred to the spiritual world. O Lord, the impersonalists or non devotees cannot understand that your name is identical with your form. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his name and his actual form. In the material world, there is a difference between form and name. The mango fruit is different from the name of the mango. One cannot taste the mango fruit simply by chanting mango, mango, mango. But the devotee who knows that there is no difference between the name and the form of the Lord chants Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and realizes that he is always in Krishna's company. For persons who are not very advanced in absolute knowledge of the Supreme Lord, knowledge of the Supreme, Lord Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes. Such person can simply think of the pastimes of the Lord and get full benefit. Since there is no difference between the transcendental name and form of the Lord, there is no difference between the transcendental pastimes and the form of the Lord. For those who are less intelligent, like women, laborers, or the mercantile class, the great sage Vyasadeva wrote the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, Krishna is present in his different activities. The Mahabharata story ends simply by studying, hearing, and memorizing the transcendental activities of Krishna. The less intelligent can also gradually rise to the standard of pure devotees. The pure devotees who are always absorbed in the thought of transcendental lotus feet of Krishna and who are always engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness are never to be considered to be in the material world. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained that those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness with body, mind, and activities are to be considered liberated even within this body. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord have already transcended the material position. Krishna appears in order in order to give a chance to both the devotees and the non-devotees for realization of the ultimate goal of life. The devotees get the direct chance to see him and worship him. Those who are not on the platform get the chance to become acquainted with his activities and thus become elevated to the same position. Our dear Lord, O Supreme Controller, when you appear on earth, all the demons like Kamsa and Jarasandha will be vanquished, and all good fortune will be ushered into the world. When you walk on the globe, your lotus feet will impress on the ground the marks of your souls, such as a flag, a trident, and thunderbolt. Thus you will grace both the earth and thus on the heavenly planets who shall see those marks. O dear Lord, the demigods continued, you are unborn. Therefore, we do not find any reason for your appearance other than for your pleasurable pastimes. Although the reason for the appearance of the Lord is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, he descended just to give protection to the devotees and vanquish the non devotees. Actually, he descends for his pleasure meeting with the devotees, not really to vanquish the non devotees. The non devotees can be vanquished simply by one kick of material nature. The actions and reactions of material nature, creation, maintenance, and annihilation are being carried out automatically. But simply by taking shelter of your holy name, the devotees are fully protected because your holy name and your personality are non-different. The protection of the devotees and the annihilation of the non-devotees are actually not the business of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he descends, it is just for his transcendental pleasure. There cannot be any other reason for his appearance. Our dear Lord, you are appearing as the best of the Edu dynasty, and we are offering our respectful humble obeisances onto your lotus feet. Before this appearance, he also appeared as a fish incarnation, as a horse incarnation, as a tortoise incarnation, as a half man, half lion incarnation, as a bull incarnation, as a swan incarnation, as King Ramachandra, as Parasurama, and as many other incarnations. He appeared just to protect the devotees, and we request you in your present appearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself to give us similar protection all over the three worlds and remove all obstacles for the peaceful execution of our life. Dear Mother Devaki, within your womb is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing along with all his plenary executions. He is the original personality of Godhead, appearing for our welfare. Therefore, you should not be afraid of your brother, the king of Bhuja. Your son, Lord Krishna, who is the original personality of Godhead, will appear for the protection of the pious Edu dynasty. The Lord is appearing not alone but accompanied by his immediate plenary portion, Baladeva. Devaki was very much afraid of her brother Kamsa because he had already killed so many of her children. So she has very anxious about Krishna. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that in order to pacify Devaki, all the demigods, along with their wives, used to visit her to encourage her not to be afraid that her son would be killed by Kamsa. Krishna, who was within her womb, was to appear not only to diminish the burden of the world, but specifically to protect the interests of the Edu dynasty, and certainly to protect Devaki and Vasudeva. It is understood that Krishna had been transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, and from there to her womb. Thus, all the demigods worshipped Devaki, the mother of Krishna. After thus worshipping the transcendental form of the Lord, all the demigods with Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva placed in front departed for the heavenly abodes. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second chapter of Krishna, prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. Chapter 3, the birth of Lord Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activities are all transcendental, and that one who understands them factually becomes immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance of birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the second chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. The astrological influence of the star known as Rohini was predominant. This star is considered to be very auspicious and is under the direct supervision of Brahma. According to the astrological conclusions, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious. At that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. There were auspicious stars visible in the sky and on the surface of the earth, in all towns and villages, in pasturing grounds, and within the minds of everyone. They were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of waters, and the lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices. The peacocks began to dance along with their concerts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the Brahmanas, who were accustomed to offering sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Due to disturbances created by the Temnoy kings, the sacrificial fire had been almost stopped in the house of Brahmanas. But now they could find the opportunity to start a fire peacefully. Being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the Brahmanas had been very much distressed in mind, intelligence, and activities. But just on the point of Vishnu's appearance, automatically their mind becomes full of joy because they could hear transcendental vibrations in the sky proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The denizens of the Gandharva and Kinnara planets began to sing, and the denizens of Siddhaloka and the planets of the Puranas began to offer prayer in the personality of Godhead. In the heavenly planets, the angels and their wives, along with the Vidyadhara and their wives, began to dance. The great sages and the demigods, being pleased, began to shower flowers. At the seashore, there was a sound of mild waves, and before the sea, there were clouds in the sky, which began to thunder very pleasingly. When things were existed like this, Lord Vishnu, who is residing within the heart of every living entity, appeared in the darkness of night as the Supreme Personality of Godhead before Devaki, who appeared as one of the demigoddesses. The appearance of Lord Vishnu at the time could be compared to the rising of the full moon over the eastern horizon. The objection may be raised that since Lord Krishna appeared on the eighth day of the waning moon, there could be no rising of the full moon. In answer to this, it may be said that Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty, which is in the hierarchy of the moon. Therefore, all the moon was incomplete on that night. Because of the Lord's appearance in the dynasty wherein the moon is himself, the original person, the moon was in an over choice condition. So, by the grace of Krishna, he could appear just like a full moon. In an astronomical treatise by the name Kamanikya, the constellations at the time of the appearance of Lord Krishna are very nicely described. It is confirmed that the child born at this auspicious moment was the Supreme Brahman or absolute truth. Vasudeva saw that wonderful child born as a baby with four hands, holding conch, shell, club, disc, and lotus flower decorated with the marks of Srivastava. Wearing the jeweled necklace of Kaustuba stone dressed in yellow silk, appearing dancing like a bright blackish cloud. Wearing a helmet bedecked with the Vaidurya stone, valuable bracelets, earrings, and similar other ornaments all over his body and beautified by an abundance of hair on his head. Due to the extraordinary features of the child, Vasudeva was struck with wonder. How could a newly born child be so decorated? He could therefore understand that Lord Krishna had now appeared and he became overpowered by the ocean. Vasudeva very humbly pondered that although he was an ordinary living entity conditioned by material nature and was externally imprisoned by Kamsa, the all-pervading personality of God and Vishnu or Krishna had appeared as a child in his home, exactly in his original position. No earthly child is born with four hands decorated with ornaments and nice clothing, fully equipped with all the signs of Supreme Personality of God. Over and over again, Vasudeva glanced at his child and he considered how to celebrate this auspicious moment. Generally, when a male child is born, he thought people observe the occasion with jubilant celebrations. And in my home, although I am imprisoned, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has taken birth. How many millions and millions of times would I be prepared to observe this auspicious ceremony? Hare Krishna.
When Vasudeva,
Yes.
but you will have to scroll also. Oh, yeah. Let's keep it here. One second. Yeah. When Vasudeva, who is also called Okay, Hare Krishna. When Vasudeva, who is also called Nanta Dondobi, was looking at his newborn baby, he was so happy that he wanted to give many thousands of cows in charity to the Brahmanas. According to the Vedic system, whenever there is an auspicious ceremony in the Kshatriya king's palace, out of the joy, the king gives many things in charity. Cows decorated with golden ornaments are delivered to the Brahmanas and sages. Vasudeva wanted to perform a charitable ceremony to celebrate Krishna's appearance. But because he was shackled within the walls of Krishna's prison, this was not possible. Instead, within his mind, he gave thousands of cows to the Brahmanas. When Vasudeva was convinced that the newborn child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he bowed down with folded hands and began to offer him prayers. At that time, Vasudeva was in the transcendental position and he became completely free from all fear of Krishna, of Kamsa. The newborn baby was also flashing his effulgence within the room in which he appeared. Vasudeva then began to offer his prayers. My dear Lord, I can understand who you are, who you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of all living entities, and the absolute truth. You have appeared in your own eternal form, which is directly perceived by us. I understand that because I am afraid of Kamsa, you have appeared just to deliver me from that fear. You do not belong to this material world. You are the same person who brings about the cosmic manifestation by simply glancing over material nature. One may argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who creates the whole cosmic manifestation simply by his glance, cannot come within the womb of Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva. To eradicate this argument, Vasudeva said, My dear Lord, it is not a very wonderful thing that you have appeared within the womb of Devaki, because the creation was also made in this way. You were lying in the casual ocean as Mahavishnu. And by your breathing process, innumerable new universes came into existence. Then you entered into each of the universes as Dagodaya Sai Vishnu. Then again you expanded yourself as Shirodakshaya Vishnu, Shai Vishnu, and entered into the hearts of all living entities and even into the atoms. Therefore, Your entrance into the womb of Devaki is understandable in the same way. You appear to have entered, but you are simultaneously all pervading.
Expanded yourself
We can understand your entrance and non-entrance from material examples. The total material energy remains intact even after being divided into 16 elements. The material body is nothing but the combination of the five gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Whenever there is a material body, it appears that echoes
from material example. The total material energy remains intact even after being divided into 16 elements. The material body is nothing but the combination of the five gross elements, namely
इसको बढ़ा दो. Yeah, okay. Thank you. The material body is nothing but the combination of the five gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Whenever there is a material body, it appears that such elements are newly created. But actually, the elements are always existing outside of the body. Similarly, although you have appeared as a child in the womb of Devaki, you are also existing outside. You are always in your abode, but still you can simultaneously expand yourself into millions of forms. One has to understand your appearance with great intelligence because the material energy is also emanating from you. You are the original source of material energy, just as the sun is the source of sunshine. The sunshine cannot cover the sun glow, nor can the material energy. Being an emanation from you, cover you, you appear to be in three modes of material energy. But actually, the three modes of material energy cannot cover you. This is understood by highly intellectual philosophers. In other words, although you appear to be within the material energy, you are never covered by it. We hear from the Vedic version that the Supreme Brahman exhibits his effulgence and therefore everything becomes eliminated. We can understand from the Brahma Samhita that the Brahma Jyoti or the Brahma effulgence emanates from the body of the Supreme Lord. And from the Brahman effulgence, all creation takes place. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is the support of the Brahman effulgence. Therefore, originally, he is the root cause of everything. But persons who are less intelligent think that when Supreme Personality of Godhead comes within this material world, he accepts the material qualities. Such conclusions are not very mature, but are made by the less intelligence. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is directly and indirectly existing everywhere. He is outside this material creation, he is also within it. He is within the material creation, not only as a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he is also within the atom. The existence of the atom is due to his presence. Nothing can be separated from his existence in the Vedic injunctions. We find that Supreme Soul, or the root cause of everything, has to be searched out because nothing exists independently of the Supreme Soul. Therefore, the material manifestation is also a transformation of his potency. Both inert matter and the living force, the soul, are emanation from him. Only the foolish conclude that when the Supreme Lord appears, he accepts the conditions of matter, even if he appears to have accepted a material body. He is still not subjected to any material condition. Krishna has therefore appeared and defeated all imperfect conclusions about the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My Lord, your appearance, existence, and disappearance are beyond the influence of the material qualities. Because your Lordship is the Supreme Brahman and the controller of everything, there is nothing inconceivable or contradictory in you.